Growing pressure, President Trump calls out racism. 48 hours after the deadly attack, the president now says racism is evil and then calls out the groups by name, the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists. Then what the president later says when asked, why didn't he say it sooner? Also, the accused killer who drove into that crowd, the video just beforehand, and what it shows. Also tonight, was it another plot to bomb Oklahoma City? Authorities say the suspect drove a van to a downtown alley and allegedly tried to detonate what he believed was a van packed with explosives, and his alleged praise for Timothy McVeigh. The outrage tonight after a newly released video shows a student with autism dragged by two kindergarten teachers, and the deadly accident on the set of a popular movie, the stunt gone wrong, and what we're learning tonight.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Monday night. And we begin tonight with President Trump, aware of the increasing pressure coming before the cameras today at the White House, and for the first time since Saturday, condemning hate groups by name. The president saying racism is evil after lives were lost in Charlottesville, calling out the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists. And tonight, what we've now learned about the 20-year-old suspect charged with murder after authorities say he drove his car right into that crowd. Tonight, the video now emerging of him before he got into that car. ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega leading us off.
Nearly 48 hours after that car plowed into pedestrians on the streets of Charlottesville, President Trump today finally stepping before the cameras to give that hate a name.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
Under fire all weekend, it started not with what he said, but what he didn't say. Scenes like this unfolding for hours without word from the president. When the president did speak out in person, he condemned not just the racists marching in the streets, but many sides.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides, The backlash
was instant and nearly universal, even from Republican allies.
We call this white supremacism, this white nationalism evil, and let the country hear it, let the world hear it. It's something that needs to come from the Oval Office, and this White House needs to do it today.
By Sunday, a statement not from the president, but rather from an unidentified aide, saying the president said very strongly in his statement yesterday that he condemns all forms of violence, bigotry, and hatred, and of course that includes white supremacists, KKK, neo-Nazi, and all extremist groups. Adding to the pressure, his daughter went there, saying unequivocally there should be no place in society for racism, white supremacy, and neo-Nazis. Same from his vice president.
We have no tolerance for hate and violence from white supremacists, neo-Nazis, or the KKK.
And this morning, his attorney general pressed by David on whether the president would finally speak out specifically against white supremacists.
This is a president, as you know, who is known for his blunt talk. You know, for a week now, we've been reporting on the war of words with North Korea. Many Americans could likely quote that line, his warning of fire and fury. He was so clear on North Korea. And even as a candidate, he said this.
To solve a problem, you have to be able to state what the problem is, or at least say the name.
Will he say the name of these groups?
Well, he will say what he believes is appropriate. I think he probably will.
Late today, a reporter asking the president one more time why he waited so long to name those groups.
Mr. President, can you explain why you did not condemn those hate groups by name over the weekend?
They've been condemned. They have been condemned.
And Cecilia Vega with us live from the White House tonight. And early in the day, Cecilia, when the president still had not called out these groups by name, as you know, the only African-American member of the White House Manufacturing Council resigned. Merck's CEO saying America's leaders must clearly reject bigotry and group supremacy. There was reaction at the White House.
David, the president responded to this resignation hours before he called out those racists by names. He took to Twitter to take a dig at Ken Frazier, saying he will have more time to lower ripoff drug prices. And David, he's tweeting about it again just now, saying blasting Merck Pharmaceuticals for high drug prices. David.
Taking aim after that resignation. Cecilia, thank you. We are also learning more tonight about the alleged driver behind that deadly car attack in Charlottesville. 20-year-old James Fields, charged with murder, seen chanting "White Sharia now" during the rally, making his first court appearance today. Fields working as a security guard, and tonight you will hear from those who know him, including his own mother, who said she thought he was going to a Trump rally. Here's ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tonight.
You will not replace us.
Those chilling images, white supremacist marchers bearing torches on the campus of the University of Virginia.
Blood and soil.
The next morning they gather again, former KKK leader David Duke among them.
We are determined to take our country back. We're going to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump.
James Alex Fields Jr., after driving in from Ohio, seen among the white supremacists, chanting for white power. Shortly before authorities believe he got in this car, launching that fatal attack that left Heather Heyer dead. Tonight, the suspected killer is behind bars, held without bail, and charged with murder. Back home, his mother saying she didn't know who would be at the rally.
I didn't know it was white supremacists. I thought it had something to do with Trump. Trump's not a supremacist.
But tonight, a chilling portrait of the suspect from those who knew him, including his high school teacher.
He felt that, whites were superior. He felt that the views that Adolf Hitler espoused were correct in some way.
And classmates say during a trip to Germany, Fields shocked them as they were walking through a concentration camp, allegedly saying this is where the magic happened.
He was vocal about his ideas. He proclaimed himself as a Nazi and as a white supremacist.
The rally was about white supremacists fighting to keep a Confederate statue from being removed. And today, many of whom marched openly are being targeted for shaming online. One of the protesters reportedly losing his job. Another saying he's not an angry racist.
I came to this march trying to send the message that white European culture has the right to be here just like every other culture.
And Pierre Thomas joins us live tonight from the Justice Department. And Pierre, I asked Attorney General Jeff Sessions today, was this domestic terrorism? He indicated it does meet the criteria, but that there would be further investigation. And tonight you've learned he's also looking into whether this is a civil rights violation.
David, they're investigating to see if the murder was a hate crime or domestic terrorism. And the FBI is trying to figure out if Fields is a member of a hate group and if he was directed to attack, David.
Pierre Thomas at the Department of Justice tonight for us. Pierre, thank you. Meantime, in Charlottesville at this hour, the city remains on edge. The police chief speaking just moments ago, promising more arrests. Tonight here, the young woman who was killed when that car plowed into the crowd and the two state troopers who lost their lives while choppering in to help answer the call at the scene. ABC's Eva Pilgrim in Charlottesville again tonight.
Nazis go!
Get the hell out of here!
Tonight, tensions simmering in Charlottesville.
Shut your mouth! You didn't lose nothing!
White nationalists defending themselves in front of a hostile crowd.
These radical leftists are the ones that brought violence.
Just moments ago, the police vowing to make more arrests as they pore over the videos of the violent clashes.
We're still receiving reports of assaults and additional crimes.
I asked one of the white nationalist protesters, why bring weapons if this was a peaceful protest?
Because we were afraid the police might not defend us.
One of the lives lost, 32-year-old Heather Heyer, who was marching with her friends when she was hit in that car attack. Heyer's last post on Facebook right after the election. If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
I'm extremely proud that she stood for what she believed in. She gave soul to it, and now she's given her life to it.
Adding to the chaos, a freak helicopter crash, killing two Virginia state troopers helping with the protest, Pilot Burke Bates and Lieutenant Jay Cullen.
And Eva joins us from the site of the car attack. And Eva, the first night of the rally, the white nationalists were marching with those tiki torches. And tonight, the owners of that company putting out a statement denouncing the protesters for using them.
That's right, David. The Tiki brand saying they are deeply saddened and disappointed, in writing that we do not support their message or use of our products in that way. David.
Eva Pilgrim with us again tonight from Charlottesville. Eva, thank you. And we move on tonight to the other news this Monday evening, another developing story and the alleged terror takedown in Oklahoma City. The FBI arresting a suspect allegedly trying to detonate what he believed was an explosive-filled cargo van outside a bank in Oklahoma City. Authorities say the suspect admired Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh. Here tonight, ABC's David Curley.
This Oklahoma City bank, the alleged target of this 23-year-old man charged tonight, who in a drafted statement said he hoped to start an anti-government revolution. Jerry Varnell allegedly first suggesting to bomb the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C., then settling for the bank. His admiration for McVeigh, he hoped to emulate his 1995 Oklahoma City Federal Building bombing.
But he wanted to make the biggest impact for whoever he was going to place this bomb. And in his mind, this would have been the biggest impact in Oklahoma.
An undercover FBI employee provided a cargo van and materials, which Varnell allegedly used Friday night to assemble what he thought was a bomb, smaller but like the device from 1995. He drove to the bank, left the van in an alley next to the loading dock, and used a cell phone he expected to detonate the explosion, according to court documents. Instead, he was arrested.
He was looking to start a revolution, and this was almost a message to everybody that was like-minded to stand up, take action.
During the 8-month investigation, Varnell allegedly said his views are aligned with the Patriot anti-government movement. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison. David?
David Curley in Washington, thank you. We turn overseas tonight in the looming showdown with North Korea. Late today, North Korea saying Kim Jong-un has been briefed on plans for missile tests near Guam. America's top military officer, General Joseph Dunford, now in the region, warning the U.S. is prepared to use the, quote, full range of its capabilities if North Korea follows through on its threats of force. The general telling Martha Raddatz the U.S. is ready in case diplomacy fails.
What would you say to Americans to reassure them about this situation?
Sure. I mean, what I'd say to Americans today is we have the capability to defend them against the limited attack that North Korea is capable of delivering today.
The general with Martha Raddatz there, North Korea warning it would have a plan to strike near Guam by mid-August. Back here at home tonight and to Ohio, the disturbing school video sparking new outrage tonight. A kindergarten teacher and a teacher's aide seen dragging a young boy with autism down the hallway. His mother is now posting surveillance video on Facebook after a prosecutor decided not to file charges. Here's ABC's Lindsay Janis.
This surveillance video shows an Ohio teacher and an aide carrying and dragging a 7-year-old boy with autism to the elementary school's office. After they say they tried to discipline the boy on the playground, one can be seen dragging kindergartner Corbin Kemley by his ankle as he's face down on the floor.
I was shocked. In my eyes, it's abuse. I don't think anybody would want that to happen to even a pet, not alone your child or a special needs child.
His mother posting the video on Facebook after a prosecutor declined to bring criminal charges against the teachers, saying the incident did not meet the elements required for felony prosecution. When it happened back in May, the school district immediately calling police and placing the staffers on paid leave.
I feel that the incident occurred due to a peak in frustration.
David, the prosecutor says the teacher was hit in the eye by the boy, but the school district says those employees were trained to de-escalate situations like that, and they should have followed their training. David?
All right, Lindsay Janis with us tonight as well. We turn next tonight to a story we've been reporting on right here, the real concern for thousands of American tourists who travel to Mexico with their families. There is a new crackdown there tonight. Authorities are now raiding dozens of popular tourist spots, including hotels, nightclubs, and restaurants, seizing 10,000 gallons of illegal alcohol. The sweep following the death of a young daughter from Wisconsin. Her family is convinced tainted alcohol at a Mexican resort could have been to blame. Here again, ABC's Gio Benitez.
Tonight, Mexican authorities seizing 10,000 gallons of alcohol from more than 24 tourist destinations, among them the Iberostar Paraíso Maya Resort. Their lobby bar suspended, investigators say they found unsanitary conditions. It's the same resort complex where 20-year-old Abby Connor and her brother Austin were drinking at the bar. They ended up passing out and floating face down in the pool. Abby later died. Her family calling for an investigation into whether their alcohol was tainted.
The bartender pours out a line of shots and lights went out and I woke up in the ambulance.
So you went from fine to blacked out.
Yep.
Mexico has been confiscating the tainted alcohol for years at restaurants and tourist centers, seizing more than 1.4 million gallons of the toxic blends. Tonight, Iberostar claiming the suspension was not related to tainted alcohol, but rather those unsanitary conditions. David, Iberostar has also told us it only buys sealed bottles that satisfy all standards, and Abby's parents are suing the resort, hoping to get more answers. David.
Gio Benitez, who's been on this case from the start. Thank you, Gio.